Thanks, Nzinga. We look at news here at home. Some students from various institutions of higher learning have taken to social media to call for the reopening of the application period for the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. Students organized under the hashtag #OpenNSFAS have started an online petition wanting the President and the Higher Education Minister to intervene. They have been posting their individual experiences about being accepted at institutions without funding. We're joined now in the studio by Kabelo Mahlobogwane, representatives for hashtag #OpenNSFAS. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us, Kabelo.
Good evening. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
So you're asking for a departure from the norm, and I'm wondering what is it that makes circumstances different from the usual criteria that has been so well publicized?
Look, there is a challenge here that there are students from as far as Limpopo and Northern Cape, which are provinces that we know that are very rural, and there is a lack of access for people who stay there, who have acceptance letters from various institutions of higher education in South Africa, and now cannot access that higher education opportunity because they cannot afford funding. So we are saying that it cannot be that in South Africa today, where students have been calling for free education for so long, and the former president declared free education for the poor, that a student goes back home and faces the same poverty that they've been facing under this government just because they cannot afford.
Right. So, Kabelo, let me understand this. Are these people who fall outside of the NSFAS qualification?
Well, they qualify, all of them. It's just that some of them could not apply on time because, you know, NSFAS is online, and if you go to rural areas, it's very difficult, even if you can hear about NSFAS on radio, but where are you going to apply? Because NSFAS doesn't go to rural areas or rural schools to assist students to apply. So the only time for them to apply is when they come to these big cities, of which they did now. Some of them don't even know where they're going to sleep because they come from very far. They've been accepted in universities that are in Gauteng, and now that they're in Gauteng, there's no funding, they must go back home.
You know, it's very interesting that you raise this particular issue, especially about outlying areas. I just speak to the NSFAS administrator about this particular issue, and they said that they are trying to improve their communication network, especially in rural areas. So now, given the fact that this would not have been budgeted for, what are you asking the President? What are you asking the Department of Higher Education to do? What are you asking universities to do?
Look, the President and the Minister of Higher Education and Training must instruct NSFAS to reopen online applications so that students with acceptance letters can be able to apply university. Funding is not an issue because, number one, we've got record of students who had applied previously for NSFAS and got accepted, but because they could not meet the requirements for the course in their grade 12 results, some decided to go back to school and redo matric, some decided to upgrade their results, and those students will not even be using NSFAS anymore. So there are a lot of other sources where government can get funds, but because of the laziness and the incapability of NSFAS, which that's why we say NSFAS is incompetent and must be scrapped, is because of such issues. They can't even audit and see how many students are not going to use NSFAS anymore. And already now in 2 weeks' time, the universities are opening for academics. So this is a matter of incompetence, and students who are poor and who are from marginalized communities should not fall victim because of this.
Okay, so by those who did not apply in time, because you say some perhaps weren't really sure about the marks that they would attain, whether or not they'd qualify. What about those who initially qualified? The annual combined income of their guardians or the parents was 350,000 rand or less. I'm just wondering, ignorant as it may be, did that not foresee the challenges of having to travel to the big city, of having to have accommodation? So I'm just thinking you would know already that your parents would not be able to afford this.
But because, my sister, for some of us, even if you see me sitting here, if I can tell you where I come from and how I go to university, I fought.
Tell us
I'm
your
here
story.
because of fees must fall. When I came to the University of Pretoria, my application was actually rejected from the rural areas of Mpumalanga. And I traveled here and slept with friends who are new in university. And I had to fight through fees must fall.
Which application was rejected, the NSFAS or the university application?
The university, and if your university is accepted at that time, you couldn't even apply for NSFAS. You see how difficult it is. So for you to be be able to succeed in South Africa, you have to fight. That's the only language the government understands. And we are saying to them, look, we've been called violent through FISMAS4. Now we are saying to you through social media, where we don't even have to meet and do everything. We are saying to you, listen to us, here's our plea. Give us a platform to even maybe engage with you and persuade you and show you ways. Because we are intellectuals, we are graduates, we are participating in a lot of organizations. How you can be able to fund this and how you can be able to
tell us a little bit more about your story. I mean, it's one thing to say you had to fight for people who are watching you, especially students like you, or who want to be in the position to be able to speak on behalf of others. What exactly did you do? How did you fight? How difficult was it?
Look, as a black person in this country, there's nothing else you can do but fight. Those who are thinking that poverty is a bed of roses, saying that students could have applied earlier, it's just a matter of jealousy. No, there's this thing about some black people, there's some black jealous that don't understand. If NSFAS reopens applications, how are they going to be affected? Because it's not even the issue. Because I know it's about the black jealous that is received on Twitter. So every black student in the country, if you want to succeed, if you want to see something of yourself,
personalize it for us, Kabelo. Tell us what you had to do. I really would like to get that.
Right now as we speak, I was suspended pending investigation at the University of Pretoria in 2016. I had to graduate through lawyers and all of that. I'm still suspended right now. I would have liked to continue because of FISMAS4. I was said to be participating in FISMAS4, and when we were suspended, I was suspended. I'm telling you today, I wish I could have completed my master's or done everything, but the University of Pretoria still bars me from entering campus, even if I'm no longer a student, because of a suspension that I got when I was still a student.
How did you manage to circumvent that? You didn't qualify, and you say you fought. How were you able to bridge that divide?
When you go to the universities, there are programs like Sizofunda Ngenkani by the 5th Students Command, which is one of the organizations that helped me. When you get there, don't even go to administration, go to these comrades. And I'm telling you, you'll never leave. That's what we're doing now. We're saying to these students, if government does not listen and it does not heed to our call, we'll have no choice but to go there and assist them physically.
How do you assist them?
Shutting down university is not a problem for us. We've been arrested many times. I mean, as I'm speaking to you, I've got many scars. I've been arrested just for protesting and saying FISMAS4. I slept in prison. And a lot of other students are still attending court cases. Bonginkosi Kanyile is still serving sentencing just because she said FISMAS4. So all of these are scars that we all carry. And because we know how difficult it is, especially if you're coming from a rural area whereby even English is still a foreign concept to you. You can't even argue with these administrators like the University of Pretoria. The first language they speak to is Afrikaans. That's why we said Afrikaans must fall. So we are there here to assist them so that even if we're no longer in these spaces, at least we know we have experienced them, we know how arrogant they can be. And
so you would support SABC's call that they will shut down universities if the Department of Higher Education doesn't come on board with especially the funding issue?
We have not spoken to SABC. We actually are not even in an association with them in any how.
Indeed, but would you support the call?
Right now it will depend, because remember, the approaches and the demands are different. So if we agree on the principle on what we are going to fight for, then we'll support them. Because what we are saying now is that in the current moment in this agency, let government give funding to students who have acceptance letters only. We're not saying they must increase spaces in university. We're saying those ones that have been accepted, just give them access to university, and the rest can be negotiated.
Is there an ultimatum to this campaign? #OpenNSFAS.
There is, but remember also, as I'm speaking here, we are guided by the people that we are fighting for. So as time goes on, will be our next move will be determined by how government responds to us.
Right.
Fortunately, another thing, tomorrow the Department of Higher Education has called for a meeting, a multi-stakeholder engagement meeting. We hope that in that meeting they will understand our cries and listen to us, because failure to do so, I'm telling you, we'll have no choice. But currently we're coming in good spirit. We're not violent with anyone. We're coming as poor people of South Africa, because remember, this poverty that we're experiencing today was not natural. It was created by human beings, and we're still suffering today, not because God decided for us to suffer, because of human beings that have decided to mislead people and maladministrate in government.
Kabelo, I do hope that you will come back and talk to us about it. Kabelo Mahlobogwane is a representative for #OpenNSFAS.